Now let's talk about how to ingest data with DataFlow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric. In this section, we will describe DataFlow Gen2 capabilities in Microsoft Fabric. We will also discuss how to create DataFlow solutions to ingest and transform data, and we'll focus on how to include a DataFlow in a pipeline. Stay tuned. There are two primary high-level features Data Factory implements: data flows and pipelines. DataFlow Gen2 enables you to leverage a low-code Power Query online interface and 300+ data and AI-based transformations, letting you transform data easier and with more flexibility than any other tool. Data pipelines enable you to leverage rich out-of-the-box data orchestration capabilities to compose flexible data workflows that meet your enterprise needs. You might be asking, what is a data flow? Data flows are a type of cloud-based ETL, or extraction, transformation, and loading tool for building and executing scalable data transformation processes. DataFlow Gen2 allows you to extract data from various sources, transform it using a wide range of transformation operations, and load it into a destination. Using Power Query Online also allows for a visual interface to perform these tasks. The ability to specify an output destination along with an enhanced compute time are what set DataFlow Gen2 apart from its predecessor. Data flows allow you to promote reusable ETL logic that prevents the need to create more connections to your data source. Data flows offer a wide variety of transformations and can be run manually, on a refresh schedule, or as part of a data pipeline orchestration. DataFlow Gen2 is only available in Fabric and not in Power BI without a Fabric license or trial. Traditionally, data engineers spend significant time extracting, transforming, and loading data into a consumable format for downstream analytics. The goal of DataFlow Gen2 is to provide an easy, reusable way to perform ETL tasks using Power Query Online. Data flows allow you to promote reusable ETL logic that prevents the need to create more connections to the data source. Do consider that there is more than one way to ETL or ELT data in Microsoft Fabric, as we will discuss coming up. Now let's take a look at the benefits and limitations of using DataFlow Gen2. Some benefits noted here are that it allows self-service users access to a subset of the data warehouse separately. You can also optimize performance with data flows, which enable extracting data once for reuse, reducing data refresh time for slower resources. Consider simplifying data source complexity by exposing data flows to larger analyst groups and ensure consistency and quality of data by enabling users to clean and transform data before loading it into a destination. Some limitations to be aware of are that data flows aren't a replacement for a data warehouse. Creating a data warehouse is still your best option to use for organizational reporting needs. Also note that the Fabric Capacity Workspace is required to create DataFlow Gen2 and that row-level security isn't supported. So consider using other security options to supplement here. Look for more on security in later sections. Now let's explore DataFlow Gen2. Please note, number 1, Power Query Ribbon. DataFlow Gen2 supports a wide variety of data source connectors. Common sources include cloud and on-premise relational databases like SQL, Excel, or flat files, SharePoint, Salesforce, Spark, Fabric Lakehouses, and more. Then there's numerous data transformations possible. As I mentioned earlier, it's over 300+ ways to do transformations in our Power Query Online. You can do transformations like filter and sort rows, pivot and unpivot, merge and append queries, split and conditional split, replace values and remove duplications. You can also have it add, rename, reorder, or delete columns. It can do ranking and percentage. You can have it choose the top N where you define N, or the bottom N where you define the number that goes there too, and many, many more. You can also create and manage data source connections, manage parameters, and configure the default data destination in this ribbon. Notice number 2, the Queries pane. This shows you the different data sources, now called queries on the left here. These queries are called tables when loaded into the data store. You can duplicate or reference a query if you need multiple copies of the same data, such as creating a star schema and splitting data into separate, smaller tables. You can also disable the load of the query in case you need to do a one-time import. Number 3 shows the diagram view, which allows you to visually see the data source. The data sources are connected along with the different applied transformations. For example, your data flow connects to the data source, duplicates the query, removes columns from the source query, then it unpivots the duplicate query. Each query is represented as a shape with all of the applied transformations and connected by a line for the duplicate query. You can turn this view on or off. Number 4 is the data preview pane. This only shows a subset of data to allow you to see which transformations you should make and how they affect the data. You can also interact with the preview pane by dragging and dropping columns to change the order, or right-clicking the columns to filter or make changes. The data preview shows you all the transformations for the selected query. Number 5 highlights the query settings pane on the right, which includes the applied steps. Each transformation you do is tied to a step, some of which are automatically applied when you connect the data source. Depending on the complexity of the transformation, you might have several applied steps for each query. Most steps have a gear icon that allows you to modify the step. Otherwise, you must delete and repeat the transformation. Each step also has a contextual menu when you right-click, so you can rename, reorder, and delete the steps. There's no undo button in this section, so to undo an unwanted step, simply click the gray X next to the step. While this visual interface is helpful, you may also view the M code through the advanced editor. In the query settings pane, you can see the data destination option there at the bottom, and that will give you the ability to see where your data is going to land. And it can have a destination like a lakehouse, a warehouse, or a SQL database, as you can see. You can also load your data flow to Azure SQL database, the Azure Data Explorer, or even Azure Synapse Analytics. Lastly, Power BI developers should be familiar with this interface, as it is similar to the Power Query editor in the Power BI desktop, and you should be able to quickly pick it up and perform the transformations upstream here very easily and improve performance for your reports. DataFlow Gen2 provides an excellent option for data transformations in Microsoft Fabric. The combination of data flows and pipelines is useful when you need to perform additional operations on the transformed data. Data pipelines are a common concept in data engineering and offer really a wide variety of activities to orchestrate. Some common activities include copy data, incorporate data flow, add notebook, get metadata, and execute a script or a stored procedure. Pipelines provide a visual way to complete activities in a specific order. Remember that you can use a data flow for data ingestion, transformation, and landing into a Fabric data store. Then incorporate that data flow into a pipeline to orchestrate extra activities, like executing scripts or stored procedures after the data flow has completed. Pipelines can be scheduled or activated by a trigger, or you can run a data flow manually. By using a pipeline to run your data flow, you can have the data refreshed when you need it instead of having to manually run the data flow. Consider automation as much as possible to allow you to focus on other responsibilities. Now let's create and use DataFlow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric.
Welcome to lab number 4, create and use DataFlow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric. Let's begin. So we need to start, of course, with getting out to Fabric at app.fabric.microsoft.com. Then we need to create a workspace, or you can use a workspace that you're currently using if you'd like. I'm going to keep mine a little bit separate here. And you can call the workspace anything you like to call it. I'm going to use the DP-700 Lab 4 is my workspace name. And then most importantly, we need to make certain that we are using a Fabric license mode, either Fabric Capacity or the trial. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And that will create my workspace for me very fast, as you can see. And then what I want to do is create a lakehouse. So I'm going to go in and add our lakehouse option here. And the lakehouse is here under Store Data. And I'm going to call it DP-700 Lab 4 Lakehouse. And let me capitalize that just so everything is similar. And I'm going to hit Create. So now I have my lakehouse, I have my workspace, and I'm ready now to ingest data. And what you'll note with this is you can handily get it right here under Get Data. I can choose from a lot of options. We spend a lot of time uploading files to our lakehouse, but you can also, as you know, use sample data. You can shortcut it in. We will eventually talk about pipelines in this section a little bit towards the end, but right now we're going to focus on the DataFlow Gen2. So I can grab it from here. I can also grab it from over here. Just going to pick it up from right here. That'll take me into my DataFlow Gen2, which is also known as the Power Query Online Editor. And in this editor, it is really, really easy for us to use it, especially if you've used it with Power BI on-prem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a file. And where I'm going to grab this from, I'll give you the link right here. This is the path. It's an orders.csv file off of GitHub. You can see what it currently looks like inside. So what's involved with it there. You can see the CSV input there, the data there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to use that as my path. So I'm going to have it linked to a file. I already created a connection earlier, but if I needed to, I could create a new connection right here, adding in the gateway if I need one, the authentication, and the privacy level. But since I already have a connection, I can use it from right here. And then I'm going to click on Next. And it should get connected to it here. Might just take a moment to do that. And it's going to show you the file. So this should be equivalent to what we saw back here. It's just organized a little bit differently here into a table type format. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and click Create to use this as our data source. So then it pops me into Power Query. And the Power Query here, just so we're clear about this, Power Query actually has about 300 plus transformations that it can do. So we're not going to really touch all of them in this course, but you definitely want to check some of the ones out there that you could use in your scenarios. What I'm going to do right now, though, is I'm going to go in and get into custom column. I'm going to add a custom column in a moment, but you can see that it lists out here the source was a CSV. It had promoted headers. So there's a header in that list there. You can kind of see that first line is the header. And then we also have the column type was adjusted here for the data type. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and add a column, and I'll do a custom column here. And I'm going to call this custom column that I'm going to add to this, I'm going to call it month, but not all in uppercase here, month number. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the data type to whole number. And then I need to let you know the formula is actually case sensitive. So if you type a lowercase d in date rather than an uppercase, you may not get the result that you want. So I'm going to do date dot month, and then I'm going to do open parenthesis, and I'm going to go find order date here and insert it in. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and click OK to that and see if we can get the result that we're looking for there in that extra field we've just added there, custom column month number there. So we can see that there. So it looks good. It looks really good for us to have that. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go and check our data type. So the order date has a date data type, and you can see some of the data types through here. This one, of course, has, we set it to whole number. So we have those data types looking good there. Then what we're going to do is we would like to ultimately have the destination of where we're pulling in from this source. We have the promoted headers. We have the column change there for the data type, and then we added that custom column. We would like this to actually go out to our lakehouse. So there's a couple places we can do this from. This is the one that I prefer right here of just choosing the different locations. I could push it out to the lake house, a workspace. You have other methods you can add in here. But we could also come up here, and through here you can see kind of the destination also listed there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that lake house there. And I'm going to go ahead and connect to the destination a different way. I'm going to click on the plus here. I'm going to choose the lake house, and it's going to have to get connected to the lake house. So you may have to edit the connection to do this, but it has to connect me to it. And I already have lake house listed there. So I'm going to see if I can just hit next and see if it will connect out to the lake house. Now there's the table that we want to put at that destination. And I'd like to put it actually at the DP-700 Lab 4 and into this lake house right there. So that was the lake house I created just at the beginning of this lab. So I'm going to choose that as my destination. That's my target right there, putting it into that lake house. And it's going to show you what the source looks like, what the destination looks like. The data types are going to matter here, so we want to make certain the data types match up. But we also want to make certain that we can not only have the table created, orders on that lake house, but we also want to be able to add to it as we go. So we don't want to do necessarily replace. We want to do a append. So I want to just append whatever's there so I can keep running this over and over. So I'm going to go ahead and save those settings. And then what we'll notice is that we will want to then publish this out. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And that should set this up for us. So the data flow is being created right now. And what you can do with the data flow, as you know, is you could add a data flow to a pipeline. So that's really what I want to do. I want to add a data flow to a pipeline. So I'm going to go up to the new item here, and I'm going to find the pipeline, and we'll open that up. And we can call that, pipeline 1 is fine enough, good enough, or we could maybe change that out maybe a little bit. Maybe we do DP-700 pipeline. We could call it pipeline or pipeline 1, how we'd like to do that. Notice the data flow took a little bit to create, but it is created here. So I'm going to hit create for that for the pipeline. That'll move me into the pipeline itself, where I can then do some configuration. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and set this up a little bit. So I'm going to add a pipeline activity here, and I'm going to select data flow. So when I add data flow, it'll add it to my list here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to configure this. I'm going to go into settings, and it is actually from our workspace that we just created. And the data flow in there is our data flow 1. So that's the one I want to add to this. Now I'm going to go ahead and also save this with that little save button right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this and see if we can get this to work. So what it's going to do is I want it to run the data flow, which will connect to that data source out in GitHub. And then what it will do is it will take that order table, the information inside that order CSV file, and it will do a couple changes to it, as you saw, get connected to the source. It'll add that custom column. It will adjust that one data type that it needs to adjust, and then populate an orders table in our Lakehouse. So that's what we're trying to do with this, get it to have that orders table added to the Lakehouse and then populate it with the data. So it's going to take it a minute to run here, so we'll just let it run for a couple seconds to let it run. And then we're going to go check out the Lakehouse and see if we have the orders table populated with the orders data from GitHub. So this is an easy example to show you how to do some ingestion involving both the pipeline and also the data flow. And as I mentioned earlier, if you've worked with Power BI Desktop on-prem, and you've worked with the Power Query editor to do your transformations, you can do those same transformations in Fabric through DataFlow Gen2. So that should be helpful. So we'll just wait for this to continue to process, and then we will hopefully see it succeeded. Okay, so that was pretty slick. I'm going to go now to our, let's go back to our workspace. And I'm going to find that Lakehouse. And then I'm going to go into tables and refresh right there and see if we can find it. We should be able to find it there. There it is. There's orders. And now, does it have the records from GitHub? And it should. Let's take a look. So it's taking a moment to do a little preview. There's a lot of records out there. And we should hopefully see, yes, looks like we have the records. Okay, so it looks good. And again, it's only showing about 1,000 rows, and we could have it show more, but that's the default here. So this looks good. I hope you liked this. I hope it helped also with understanding a little bit about data flow and then also the pipeline, but more on each of those topics coming up. Thank you so much.
Now it's time for our knowledge check. Question 1. What is a DataFlow Gen2? Answer: a way to import and transform data with Power Query Online. Question 2. Which Fabric experience lets you create DataFlow Gen2? Answer: Data Factory. Question 3. How does DataFlow Gen2 in Microsoft Fabric facilitate collaboration? Answer: by providing a shared and collaborative environment for data transformation and integration. In this section, we talked about DataFlow Gen2's capabilities in Microsoft Fabric, looking at its benefits and its limitations. We also discussed DataFlow Gen2's solution to ingest and transform data, many which are low to no code in a graphical environment designed for ETL. We also explored DataFlow Gen2's multiple panes in its interface. And lastly, we talked about integrating DataFlow Gen2 into a pipeline. More on that topic coming up. For further reading on how to ingest data with DataFlow Gen2 and Microsoft Fabric, please see the link below. I hope you found this section helpful, and I hope to see you in the next.